One of the things that with the women's conference that we're really wanting all the women to just let sink in is how valuable they are and how loved they are. And that's a really hard lesson for a lot of us to get, is just that word, valuable. Yeah. And that it's not about the mistakes that you make, it's about the potential that God has put in you. And what do you guys see in that, as far as just your own journey and even other friends, family that you walk through this life with?
I think that God is your biggest cheerleader, really, in a sense, like, I don't think we realize how much he believes in us, and I even think of things like Job in the Bible when, the devil came and said, all this stuff, and he's looking for someone, and he's like, oh, have you considered my servant Job, and it's almost like God just has so much confidence in Job, and he believes in him so much because of that relationship, and because he knows Job, that he knows he's going to overcome no matter what, and I think when we look at it that way, that even if, we make mistakes and we fall and we're struggling and all that, I mean, God has so much confidence that in us that we can overcome and that we can be better and we can do more, and if we lean on that, I mean, you can step over everything, even though it's hard. He knows. He's like, it's okay.
Look what happened to Job, though.
But, there was grief there and it was pain, and he had his moment. And I mean, God is okay with that, to have that time where you're like, man, this is hard, and he knows it's hard, but I can just, we see the Father just saying, keep going. You're going to be okay. It's going to work out, you're going to make it. And I think that is huge to know that, we have someone who, no matter what, he knows, he believes it. He sees our end from the beginning, so.
I love that no matter what you're going through or where you are, how you even feel about yourself, that God always turns it around for his good. And it, he always uses it to speak to someone else. Like I went through just dumb relationships, nothing that was just like, crazy bad, but just silly decisions that I made with guys, or even when my mom is like, I do not like this guy, still choosing to be with him, But now I get to use that with girls in my youth group, and, you just get to use things like that, and that's when you start to learn the value of what you went through, and it's like, now I feel like I am valued from this girl. She's looking at me like I've got all the answers, and really I just did stupid things and I get to tell you what I did, But it's like he uses it for such good. Right. Even in the middle of this mess, it's like, how are you ever going to use what I'm going through right now? And then he never fails to just blow me away with how I get to bless somebody else with that. And it really, I think it blesses me more than it does other people, but certainly in the midst of the ugliness, it does not feel like it's going to be good at all, but I'm just so convinced of that. When I see people going through hard things, I'm just so excited to see what's going to happen when it's over. Like, I can't wait to see in a couple months where you're going to be, and, this new just look on life, new perspective. I just think that's so cool to see in people.
People tell us who they think we are. Yeah. We all get labeled. We all get these expectations, I guess, put on us. And if we go by those, we're going to miss out on so many wonderful things that when God calls us his daughters, when he calls us something totally different, it completely changes our lives. And people could have looked at you and said, growing up around gangs, growing up in difficult situations, your life is going to be one way, and your grandma told you something totally different. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it's on our street, it was interesting. We saw, there was so much drug activity, people getting killed constantly. We were raised around a lot of dysfunction, but inside our house, no matter what was going outside, it was just a constant reminder of you are not your environment. Yeah. And I think, a lot of times we just submit to what's going on because we just think, oh, if it's happening, this is who we are. But really it's not, we can take a hold of who he really says we are and do it, and run with it. And so my mom was always like, if they're running the streets, it don't matter. You're not running the streets, She's like, because that's not who you are, And I used to get so mad and be like, oh my gosh, they're out after the lights and we got to come in and we got to, and but she was like, it doesn't matter because I care about you too much, and I know who you are and I know the value you have and I know that you can do great things in your life and I'm not going to see you waste your potential by running with people who don't care,
this is blows my mind every time I think about it. God created us because he wanted to have fellowship with us. He wanted to be now I would pick somebody way better than me to be best friends with, and especially ask my son to go and die for, it's just like, really, God, do you think this was a good plan? But when you really get that settled in you, that's the thing that for me, once I really understood that the God that created everything just by speaking it into being, created me so I could be best friends with him because he just wanted to have time and spend time with me, then really, who else do I like to be liked by people, but I don't need it anymore.
Yeah. Oh, that's
it's like
huge.
when God is your best friend, it really gives you that peace, like you were talking about before. It's a settling, and that was a huge turning point for me. It was just like, it's kind of like, my dad's bigger than your dad. God's my friend, even if you aren't. I have the best friend in the world.
I think it's also important to know that even though you think your life is full of I don't have, or I am not, that you are valuable right where you are right now. I'm not married, I don't have children, I'm not tall, I'm not thin, but I'm valuable and I can be helpful to God on this earth, and he loves me just the way I am.